to your people, it ain't nothing really. Pass the power to your people, it ain't nothing really. Pass the power to your people, it ain't nothing really. Elevated innovation over ignorance.
Yo, you guys, welcome back. We are here still with Brandon, aka BeastBoi. Thank you guys for listening to his introduction a couple days ago and in the previous episode. And what do we have today, Rev?
Yeah, if you guys didn't see that last episode or listen to that last episode, definitely go check that out. So we got Brandon in the mix. We're going over current events.
Okay.
It's big, bro. From when we started this podcast to today, it is a different world.
Yeah.
It is really. We thought Corona was bad, but the whole world has changed, and us three, we've been side by side for the majority
of it. It's true. Dang.
Jesus.
So how are you doing? Because I want to get into mental state. I want to get into how you are. How are you doing?
Right.
In this time.
Well, first to start off, I am not in any way, shape, or form or believe that I am a conspiracy theorist, but I swear we are living in a multiverse and we jumped a timeline. Like 2020 hit and we jumped a timeline.
We are in the darkest timeline.
Like there is no way that this reality that we are living in right now is the same reality that was connected to 2019.
Right.
How is 2020 going to be everyone's year and it collectively became the worst year in the world
probably ever
in recent history? So I swear we're in a different timeline. So I guess in terms of mental state to get through it, there's been multiple things that have not just affected me, affected all of us and affects everybody around the world. Obviously, a lot of the big things started off with the pandemic,
right.
And how that kind of shut down everything. And it made us really realize that not everything as it seems in this world and in this country, especially in the world governments, for living in the land of the free, they can really take our freedoms away very easily at the drop of a hat if they want to. And we're going to be, required to comply.
Yeah.
So, it makes you rethink kind of, what's going on. There's always a bajillion conspiracy theories of how all this actually happened, where it's going to go, what the truth behind everything is. I try not to get caught up in that because that, it messes with my energy and my mental state. But just dealing with that and trying to take things day by day, being stuck at home and not really getting to connect with the community was a big issue for me. I know I stopped dancing a lot, during the quarantine. I was thinking that I was going to be fine, train at home, do this. And honestly, low key, I got depressed and I got anxious during this time period because I just felt like I couldn't go out and see anybody and spend time. So I lost a lot of weight. I lost 15 pounds. I got super skinny and just started putting on healthy weight again recently. So, that opened my eyes and my mind to a lot of things. But then slap on top of that is, the uprisings that just recently happened. And I think that's what I dove into the deepest out of everything that's been going on. Just because I feel like that's related to my people specifically. It's related to our communities. Especially here in Southern California, most of us live in Black and Latino communities that deal with issues like, police brutality, and unfair treatment, an unfair justice system. Los Angeles actually has the biggest police department in the country, and arguably the most violent, has the most violent history. So even though, these things are happening and there are uprisings about occurrences in other parts of the country, they still affect us here every day. You know what I mean? Like, I used to live out in South LA off Figueroa and Vernon, and I would see cop cars pull up on random Black folks all the time. Like, why do you need 5 cop cars and 10 officers to arrest one man? You know what I mean? Like, and I've been seeing that all over the place. And even when I move around, and I'm seeing people get stopped by cops left and right here in LA. Like, there's an issue And I felt like that was something that I took to heart because I was seeing my people hurt. I was seeing my people suffer. So, you know, all three of us have kind of joined together. We went to protests. You know, we've been spreading knowledge and education. I know I've been super big on spreading education and knowledge of local politics, and also some nationwide politics, and, you know, staying up to date with current events on the cases of you know, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, and more, you know, because it's not just them three, there's plenty more. You know, I've been trying my best to be like an anti-racism educator and just, you know, let people know like what the underlying issues are that are leading to this, because a lot of the problem is that people don't understand how we got here.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're like, why is all this happening? Why are people going crazy now? This, that, and the third. And I'm like, well, if you do your research and your history and you look back, this, ever since slavery in the country happened, and that's what it led to today. You know.
I think it's interesting because for us three, we all are connected and like have feelings, like really deep feelings that we're connected to on this topic. You being black, me choosing to serve predominantly black and Latino communities, you growing up in the hood, in a multi-racial, multicultural area of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And I think it's dope to see when you can have three different looking, three different minded people, but still come together and be like, yo, this is jacked up. Like, this is really messed up right now.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all in this together. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like, I know a lot of the emphasis is on, you know, black lives and how this is a black issue, but really the issues that we face with systemic oppression are not just a black issue. They affect all communities of color, or they affect all low-income communities. So even if you are not a, you know, quote-unquote person of color, if you live in a low-income community, you serve a low-income community, it affects you too, you know, just like, you know, Rev. And, you know, if we're going to be bringing it back to, like, dance and hip-hop and all that, if you're involved in black and Latino culture, it's kind of your duty to, like, speak up about black and Latino issues and support your people and your culture, you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to benefit from the culture and you're going to love the culture and you're going to let the culture kind of guide your life, you have to also love the people that the culture is attached to. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a big issue in this country, I mean, internationally, but specifically in this country, with loving black and Latino culture, but not caring about the people.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I think that's really dope that you brought up that hip-hop is Latino as well.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, Puerto Rican really, like, they, like, invented a lot of our steps in, starting with breakdance, and I think a lot of the times they get forgotten because the other elements of hip hop were more predominantly black
so
creation.
Like what I've learned recently, and honestly, it's one of my things that I think I want to start like focusing on, is really to like trace back and almost document the contributions of both black folks and Latino communities to what we know today as hip hop or street dance or whatever. Like, I do want to like go through a journey and document all that, but you know, I think a lot of people are stuck on the fact that, you know, the originators who coined the term hip hop, the originators who defined what the elements of hip hop were, what the culture was, yes, they were black, right? But it wasn't one of those things where they just were in their own little bubble and they just kind of like popped up out of nowhere. Like, today we're inventing hip hop. Like, no, like hip hop wasn't even called hip hop. It wasn't a thing for many, many years, even though the pieces were getting put into play already. And those were not strictly black communities. Right. Those were black and Latino communities. You know what I mean? Like, this is New York. This is the Bronx, New York. It's not only black people that grew up in that time period that lived in those communities, especially in the low-income communities. There was a lot of immigrants, you know, and there's a lot of Latino families coming from, you know, places like Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, whatever it may be. And they were in the communities too. They were in the trenches with the black people who were, quote unquote, creating what hip hop was.
Right.
So as music and as the DJing and the graffiti art and the breaking and this and that were created, like Latinos were there every step of the way, contributing, helping to innovate, helping to create. And not only that, like, one thing I recently learned, and I'm quoting one of my teachers that I look up to. His name is Rennie Harris. He's a pioneer of hip hop concert dance. So like the reason why anybody does hip hop dance on stage right now is Rennie Harris, and I'm just gonna put that out in the universe. He was like one of the first, if not the first, to do this. And he straight up, we had an interview with him like last week, and he straight up said, honestly, a lot of elements of hip hop, particularly breaking, could have died and could have been left if Latinos didn't pick it up and save it and cultivate it. Like he said that black people were getting ready to let go of hip hop and let go of, move on to something else. And the Latino community is nah, we love this culture. Let's take it in and help it grow and cultivate it. And that kept it going. So then obviously black folks were like, you know what, this is still dope to do. Let's keep going. You know what I mean? And that's something I just learned, and that's something that a lot of people don't know. That Latinos essentially saved at least breaking. I don't know about hip hop culture as a whole, but what I've heard is that Latinos saved breaking.
Right.
That element of hip hop. So
yeah. So, what advice would you give to dancers of why is this important as a dancer? Because predominantly a lot of our listeners are dancers from around the world too, and maybe they're not really known, they don't really know what's really going on besides what they see in the media, and the media isn't really the best source, right? So why is it important as a dancer? And two, where can you get the best resources from your experience?
I think one of the things that I've learned is that you will never truly understand the dance if you don't understand the culture. You will never understand the dance if you do not understand the culture. And a lot of people overlook that. They just think the dance is a dance and it's fun and it's cool and I'm going to do it for now and I'm going to get big and popular and then I'm going to move on to my life. Right. And it's just no, you're actually...
swag, copy the clothing.
Yeah, copy. It's all about, a lot of people like to culture vulture. They want to copy everything but have no actual connection or appreciation to it, and we call that appropriation. Yeah. There's a very fine line between appreciation and appropriation. A lot of dancers teeter over that line because they choose not to do their research. They choose not to learn who the major players are. They choose not to learn their history and really dive deep into what the culture is and what the cultural values are. Because at the end of the day, if it's a culture, it has history, it has guidelines, it has value system, it has everything. So I think that's one of the biggest keys and notes. You guys will never be successful in the dance that you want to do if you do not understand the history and culture of where it comes from, because that's going to help you move forward. You know, you have to know where you came from to be able to know where you're going.
Right, especially with the OGs still active.
Yeah, and if the OGs are still active,
they're gonna check you one day.
You're gonna get
so
checked one day.
You might as well get your facts straight before
you might as well get it together, because you're gonna get a rude awakening if one of them catches you.
Especially when people come to LA,
if you come stateside and Crump, any other street dance, if you don't know what you're doing, it's a wrap for you. Yeah. So I would suggest that you really especially if you're teaching. Oh my gosh, do not teach, please. So I encourage you guys to all listen and learn, and that's important.
All right. So is there any sources, maybe YouTube channels?
Yeah, I mean sources,
books, just anything.
I mean, particularly for dance, it's kind of hard
or just in general, just so dancers can step out of their bubble and
step out of their bubble.
Really learn about just some histories that
Yeah, well, I mean, I would suggest if you're into Crump, you watch all the old Crump King DVDs and see what's on YouTube. You can watch Rise or whatever. And if you're into hip hop, you should watch Wrecking Shop, Live from Brooklyn on YouTube. If you're into house dance, you should watch Check Your Body at the Door.
I watched that. Thank you, Brandon.
If you're into clubbing. And honestly, if you really have questions, reach out to the pioneers.
Right.
Ask questions.
Right.
Even if they charge you, if you really want that knowledge, their knowledge is worth the money.
Right.
Like, do your due diligence and actually learn and not just copy steps.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, all the pioneers are still here. So there's no way that you can't, like, reach out for knowledge. You know what I mean? So, that's all I would suggest.
Yeah. And even a sense of urgency, like R.I.P. to Don Camelot.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's one of the
true.
first.
Don
Is that
Campbell,
the first or one of the first?
We call him the Godfather of street dance.
Yeah, one of the
because
first.
locking was one of the first kind of like widely recognized, televised, spread, street dance styles. Yeah. Even while breaking was in a different part of the country, still kind of underground, we had him on Soul Train getting down. He just recently passed away a few months ago, so
that
rest
was
in
a
peace.
big hit.
Yeah. That was a big hit to the community. So reach out and get your knowledge now while they're still here.
Right.
Don't wait till they're gone and wish that you asked.
And they love it.
So many books out there. I know one that I've been trying to get is just called Hip Hop Culture. You can look it up, and it's like a graphic novel, basically. Not novel, graphic, like illustration book of the history of hip hop.
Actually, one of my favorite hip hop books in general is called "It's Bigger Than Hip Hop" by M.K. Asante. You should check that out. One of the first pages, they actually mentioned Tight Eyes' name when they were talking about they're talking about dance culture, just like culture in general. You should check out that book too.
So guys, there's a bunch of opportunity, a bunch of resources that you guys can get to really further your knowledge. And then like we were saying also, our OGs are still around.
Yeah, and willing.
Pay them because
willing to give knowledge. Like, that's one of the things they enjoy. I never met like an OG that
didn't want to share and didn't want to talk.
It can be,
because it still gives them value too. Like, if you ask questions, it reminds them that, like, damn, what I'm doing, what I dedicated my whole life to is still valuable.
Right.
People still care. So they're going to want to answer your questions, you know what I mean? So, invest, and it's important.
But please.
Especially in LA. Because, and no lie, I was in an Uber drive, ride from LAX over to the studio, and my Uber driver was, like, an OG. And we just had to just start talking about the studio.
See?
And then all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, what?" And he's like, you can tell he's been at the game, but
they turn up like that. They get excited because it helps them reminisce, but it also helps them teach and spread the word of the culture they love and what they helped create. So,
Yeah, and to close off, I think a big message of this podcast is it's just deeper. We're using this current events, even though how crazy it is, but it's an opportunity to dive deeper into what's going on in the world, inside and outside of dance, right? So when you do ask these questions, think of deeper questions, please. Then how can I be better? How can, you know what I mean? So that's just my wish, and we'll leave you guys off with that. Yeah, so don't go up to an OG or whatever, and their time is very limited, especially they're not teaching now, so think about that, right? You have one question maybe your whole life to ask Popping Pete, and please don't be so how would I hit harder? Think deeper. Yeah. Okay, so that's just, I think, what Brandon really helped us with this episode was think deeper with the current events that's happening, do your research on that, even in your own dance culture, and also when you do interact with an OG, a pioneer, maybe someone you look up to, think deeper questions, not just how do I get my speed up?
Talk about culture and history and knowledge.
So many
that's what you want to ask
about that, anyways.
Yeah, you can learn technique from a video. You know what I'm saying?
Guys.
You know what I'm saying? You can literally learn technique from a video and drill it. You got to learn the actual good stuff.
Yeah. Right, well. So. Once again, it's been a pleasure. I've learned a lot. I hope you guys learned a lot too. Please, again, keep sharing, commenting. I mean, why do I keep saying that? You don't comment on Spotify, but please keep sharing. Follow Brandon, Rev, myself, and thank you guys. We're gonna go into our last episode. It'll drop in a couple days, and we will talk about I forgot.
You will find out.
And you will find out. Goodbye.
About just future goals.
Future goals, yeah.
Plans and really just mindset on how to achieve. I think that's been a big running theme in all of our podcasts is
how to achieve.
What's the next step?
Right.
And so tune in. Last episode with Brandon coming up in a couple days, so make sure you guys tune in for that. Peace out, everyone.
Bang, bang.
Bye-bye.